Okay, let's see what we have here and move on to the next step. So I had my small reductions, kind of small, and big ones, those big steps. So I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 small ones, and 1, 2, 3, 4, which is, well, each of these steps is definitely made of 2 rows. So I matched my front part with the back part, made sure that all the shoulders have the same amount of reductions and end up with the same amount of stitches here at the front and at the back. And this is what we're gonna do now. This is how I fixed the shoulder lines. I had some sequins, and like I said, don't worry about those steps. We will hide them behind the sequins. It's not blocked yet, so it's gonna look even better because, well, you know, it definitely needs some blocking here. But the idea here is to give those extra 2 centimeters of positive ease and basically hiding the edges, those steps behind the sequins. Now, an important part here is that my sequin thread is a little bit thicker than my actual yarn, than this one, but I didn't care much. I didn't recalculate it. Why is that? Because our shoulder, you know, it has, you know, volume, and this part kind of gives us more fabric around the shoulder, which is totally fine. I checked it, I liked it. So those 2 centimeters, they kind of work even better than having a shirt without that panel. So let's start. And I have my back part and front part. I have to match it. If you like to use your pins, you go ahead, can definitely use it. And I will start from the back part. Well, it doesn't really matter where to start from. And let's analyze what we have here. First, I had a row of single crochet stitches. Those are my sequin yarns. And then 1 row of filet mesh, and then another row of filet mesh, and the last row here were either single crochet stitches, or you can use half crochet stitches just to fix the decorative panel to your front part. And if you're an experienced crocheter, you can stop right here, because I'm just gonna show it step by step, but you definitely got the idea what is going on here. So I'm gonna grab my sequins and start working on fixing shoulders. I start exactly from the part where my decreases started, and it's very obvious even without any stitch markers or something. I just have my yarn right here. It was my first reduction, and I just go with my single crochet stitches into each stitch of every row. If the sequin thread is much thicker in your case, and if it creates too much, you know, too many stitches, you can just skip a couple of stitches once in a while. Like, let's say I go into each stitch here and into the next one, and then I have one here and one here. Maybe it feels like I should skip the next one because too much stuff going on here because this thread is thicker. So I just skip one stitch and go into the next one. I don't count anything here because I'm just trusting the process, because whatever amount of stitches you have is just fine. Now another trick: if you want your sequins to be on the right side, you need to put just a little bit more effort as you go. So what you might want to do right now is to kind of hold the sequin in front of you. So create this little piece of extra thread, hold the sequin with your thumb, and make sure that as you go you leave the sequin in the front, on the right side of your shirt. It's not necessarily to do it right now, because later I will explain how to pick those sequins and how to make them sit on the right side, and also I will have a tutorial on how to avoid that itchy situation when the sequins touch your skin. Trust me, there are ways to avoid that, but if you don't go too deep into that, you can just hold the sequins just like I'm doing it right now, and hold it so that it stays on the right side. Now, having those, like I'll show you again. I have this sequin and I hold it with my thumb right here, and I just complete my stitch holding this sequin. If it is big enough, because if the sequins are too small, you definitely cannot do that, but I will explain how to deal with those. Anyway, you go ahead and finish this row of single crochets, and I will see you right here at the end of the row. Now I finished this row, and if you have a question where does the row ends, exactly where your shoulder line ends, right here. If you got lost or something, just match with your t-shirt. Now chain 3, 1, 2, 3, turn your work, and I will be making double crochet stitches, skipping 2 for the fillet squares. Yarn over, skip 1, 2, and go into the third one, and a double crochet, skip 2, 1, chain 2, skip 2, and go into the third one, chain 2, skip 2, and go into the third one. So for right now I wouldn't worry about the sequins, just go as you go. Now please finish this row right here, and I will see you at the end of the row. At some point you might notice that skipping 2 is just too much, like at this probably corner of the step or at this corner of the step. So as you go, you see, should I skip 2 or should I skip just 1? So probably here I will skip 1, because if I skip 2 it just creates too much tension, and here I would skip 1 and then go skipping 2, go on skipping 2, 1, 2. Okay, so just use common sense and see how the fabric goes. Okay, 1, 2, skip 2, go into this one. Yeah, probably I want 1 here, because if I skip, no, it's okay, I'm fine. 1, 2, I go into here. No, it's okay, it's okay. So just use your common sense. The fabric should stretch kind of equally this way, this part and this part. So go ahead and complete this row, and I will see you at the end of the row. And now I chain 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, turn my work, and complete another row of fillet squares, just going into each stitch of the previous row. I mean, not each stitch, but into each square. So building a square above a square. That's so it's chaining 2 and going into the next double crochet stitch. Chain 2 and a double crochet. Chain 2 and a double crochet. And so on until you finish this row, and I will see you at the end of the row. We had one row of single crochet stitches and then one row of fillet squares and then second row of fillet squares. And now I'm gonna fix this decoration to the other shoulder. I mean to this shoulder, but to the other side, to the back. And I match them. See, I match the back and the front, and I'm gonna use single crochet stitches to fix two parts of the shoulder as I go. So I go into the first stitch and I single crochet. Also you can use half crochet stitches, but for me it's just easier to use single crochet. So I go into here, grab the other side, the sequin side, and single crochet. I go into here, grab a stitch on the other side, and single crochet. I go into this stitch and then grab another stitch and crochet these two together, making sure that you respect the size. But if you see that there are some extra stitches, like this side might have more stitches than the sequin one, then just skip. For example, you can go into the stitch, pull the yarn out. So what you can do, you can just skip one stitch here and go into another, and at the sequin part you just grab the very next stitch, and here you just grab the next stitch, okay, and single crochet. And now I go into here and into here, and now let's see, I want to match them. Do they look good? I still maybe have to do this kind of reduction. It's not reduction, it's skipping. Like this one, it looks like it should be skipped, so I go into the next one, like I am skipping this one and going into the next one and into the next one, the sequin yarn I mean, and work this together. So this one I will go as I go, you know, so this stitch goes with this stitch. I can kind of wrap around the yarn around the stitches or go inside the stitches, it doesn't really matter. What does matter is that you match both lines as you go. And if you have like this line much bigger, much longer, then there's probably a mistake. So you need to kind of make sure that these go together and they look the same pretty much. So this one, I'm not gonna skip anything here, and just wrap the yarn around the chains of the sequin roll, and then I go into here. So the idea is to grab stitches on both sides and fix them with a single crochet stitch or a half crochet stitch, but I think with sequins single crochet just works better because it's easier. That's my opinion, but you can definitely make your own decision and make your own experiment here. So go ahead and finish this row. So go ahead and finish this row, and I will see you for the neckline. Now let's talk about the neckline. I've already started the treatment and I've switched to a different yarn. It's very close in terms of color to this yarn. However, I've ran out of this type of yarn, so I'm using merino wool in 3 strands. This is yarn for machine knitting, and merino is very good for treatment because, you know, it's very stable in comparing with, for example, other materials like silk. So you don't have to do that. You can stick to this yarn and it will still look great. I mean, there are just different options. And also I thought that this one is better for demonstrating purposes because it has slightly different shade and you will see the technique better. So what I'm doing here, I've already started doing it. Half crochet stitches, and I'm going all the way around the neckline. It's not difficult at certain points, but it gets tricky where the golden part starts. So I'm gonna show the easy part and the harder part. Go all the way around the neckline with half crochet stitches. It's very important not to make them too tight because, you know, you don't want to tighten your neckline too much at this point, and just go all the way around, not to lose either, so something in between. Try to figure out what's in between, not to loose, not too tight. Okay, so I almost finished the top part and I'm about to start the sequin part. I'm gonna go into each stitch just like that, kind of replicating those chains with my other yarn. Okay, and if I see a sequin, I just try to, you know, go around the sequin just like this, and you will understand why am I doing that in just a second. So remember which side is right, which side is wrong. I'm on the right side definitely right now, so I'm gonna turn the sequins to the right side, and I hope that they stay on the right side. If they don't, we still have this way to figure this issue out later. Anyway, so I hope you've got the idea how to make this first row. Okay, the sequins are tricky, but the result is gonna be beautiful. So try to make sure the sequins stay on the right side of your shirt. Just like this, hold them a little bit. So anyway, finish this row. Just go ahead and go all the way around your neckline, and I will see you when you are done. Okay, the first step is done, and this is what we have here. This kind of chain, well, those are half crochet stitches, but they look like a chain. Okay, it goes all the way around the neckline, all the way around, and even here you can see it on the sequins. See, this is the chain. Okay, and this is it, this is it, this is it, this is where it goes. And now I'm gonna go into each of those chains with double crochet stitches. So I chain 3 and go into each stitch, inserting the crochet hook kind of inside the stitch. So the idea here is to leave this edge inside the pocket that we're making. So do not go like this, not all the way around, because it's not gonna look nice. We're gonna hide this part inside the pocket. So what I'm doing here is I'm just going like, I'm trying to bend this one a little bit and go into the stitch. See, like inside the stitch, because it creates a nicer finish. You will see it at the end. So I'm going inside the stitch. The first stitches are going to be very difficult, like these ones, but then it gets easier. So I go like in the very center of the stitch, right here. And now it's more visible that this ugly edge stays like behind this nicer panel. So now we have those double crochet stitches all around the neckline. For the next step, you are gonna hate me, and this is why I, well, you know, do not recommend to do that if you are not really experienced, because it's gonna be a tricky one. But if you are willing to learn some pro techniques, you are welcome to follow that step. If you do not do that pocket, just, you know, take some more time weaving in those ends. It's doable, it's still doable, it's still gonna look okay, because on the right side it looks great already, but it's gonna look even better. So remember, we went with those half crochet stitches all around the line, the neckline, and each stitch has two sides. One side is here and the other side is here. And see, we have those little tiny things which are the other sides of our stitches all the way around. And what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna make a double crochet stitch out of each of those little stitches or stitches sides. And here it's important to count them and to make sure, okay, if I had 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 whatever 10 here, I need to find those 10 stitches here. And since it's a very tricky one, I do not recommend start from the sequin parts, because honestly you're gonna hate me right here. So since it's gonna be on the inside, nobody's gonna see it, start from an obvious part, which is like right here. See, it's obvious, you can easily see those stitches, and when you go all the way around and have to deal with those sequins, you're gonna be kind of used to this technique, and it's just not gonna hurt you. So go inside the stitch, chain 3, and then yarn over, find those little stitches and go inside. I mean, not inside, but try to grab this part of the stitch. You don't have to go too deep inside the stitch, so just like that. It's a double crochet stitch. Yarn over, find the next one. See, it's right here. Okay, and just go like kind of grabbing this one. Okay, a double crochet stitch, yarn over, find this one, and go for a double crochet stitch. See, there's nothing too fancy or too difficult, and this is how you're gonna start creating this pocket. So with my camera off, I will go a little bit further and see you where the tricky part starts, where the sequins are going on. Okay, now this technique makes a little more sense. So we see that this pocket becomes very obvious, the ugly edge is hidden, and this is the tricky part, as I promised, the part where we have both sequins and this you know, messy type of situation. So in order to complete this one, you need first of all, you need extra light, it's definitely, and a little bit more patience, because these stitches are kind of lost in between other fibers. So whenever you see a stitch, and you know, it's a little bit more difficult to go inside from this side. Like usually you would just go like this, but since these materials are different, this one is thicker, the second one, the stitches that you need to go into are kind of, you know, they dive inside that thicker fiber. So what I do here is I kind of go into the stitch and loosen it a little bit, and then go like regularly. Okay, so I see this stitch, this is my next stitch right here. So another way I try to like go inside the stitch, putting my hook inside and double crocheting, either trying to loosen it before actually completing this stitch, or like, see here, it's quite doable, or I try to kind of turn my crochet hook a little bit differently, so that I go from underneath inside this stitch. Oops. So now you know how it's gonna work, how it's gonna look like. Yeah, like I said, this pocket is a little bit tricky, and it's okay if you ignored it. So just go ahead and complete this row, trying to grab the stitch from underneath, yarn over, like grab this stitch this way, and complete this row, and I will see you at the end of the row. Okay. I've got my last stitch, and these were 1, 2, 3 chains of a chain at the beginning of the row, so I fix these guys together, and now I have to complete this pocket. So what is this pocket? It's basically, we have two sides. See these stitches and these stitches, and each stitch has two sides, left, right, right, left, right, left. So I'm gonna be grabbing one side of the left stitch and one side of the right stitch, and just make a half crochet stitch. You might want to use your stitch marker right here so that you know where your row begins. And then I grab this side of the stitch and this side of the stitch, and just a half crochet. And what happens if the amount of stitches on both sides are wrong, like you missed a stitch or you did an extra one? Guess what? I would just skip it. And since the thread is quite thin, the yarn is thin, nobody's gonna notice. It's my secret, you know. Or you can divide all your stitches, like on this side and on this side, and use your stitch markers after each 10 stitches, I guess, and then make sure that within this segment you fix the stitches the right way. But I usually don't do that, and if I see that there's an extra stitch, I would just skip it. Anyway, so go ahead and fix these sides together. Okay, and now you see the whole point of it. This is how the pocket looks like. So everything is inside. The mess is inside. This is what we wanted, and this mess will stay inside the pocket as we finish this row. So go ahead and work on this just like this, grabbing the right side of the left stitch and the left side of the right stitch, just like this. I think it looks quite cute. I hope it makes sense. Please finish this row. Okay, and after we went all the way around with that stitch, this is what the neckline looks like. It still needs to be worked on a little bit, but most of the hanging tails went inside this pocket, and it just looks nice, clean look. Okay, and let's move on to the next part. Okay, so basically I had this panel here, duplicated it here, and just fixed those two panels together. I fixed with my regular yarn, but I also could have used sequins. And this is what our armhole looks like. It's nice. It has this smile shape here, and trust me, this is much more comfortable than if we would skip this one and have just these armholes. I mean, there are shirts which have such armholes, but in what case can you do that straight armhole without this shape when it's quite wide? First of all, if your size is XS, maybe so if you do not have a big size, okay? And if you are comfortable with having just this armhole, I mean, it's okay. It could be if your shirt is wide enough. Mine wasn't, so I made this panel. So let's get started and replicate this panel on the other side. So the first thing you need to do, you have to go to your mirror and see where do you want this shape, okay? Or if you're following your t-shirt, you can just measure where your armhole starts at on your prototype. So I wanted my armhole to be deeper. This is why I went here. But if you're fine with this one, just mark it right about here and start from there. So I'm gonna mark both of my sides and let's start crocheting. Okay, now let's crochet the filet mesh part. 1, 2, 3. After I had my thread fixed to the very bottom, I chain 3 and then chain 1, 2, yarn over, skip maybe 1 centimeter and a double crochet. Now previously I told you that I'm gonna be going a double crochet chain 1, but I made a mistake. It's a double crochet chain 2. So chain 2, 1, 2, yarn over and go about here, and then chain 2, yarn over, go about here. Now, how do you know where exactly to go? It's actually kind of trial and error situation, because every time you make 2 or 3 new squares, you just stop and see check the stretching potential of the fabric. Because if you go like here and then here and then here, the mesh part will be much bigger, much more stretchier than this part. I will give you an example. Don't do that. I'm just trying to explain. So I chain 2 and I go a little bit too close, yarn over, a little bit too close, chain 2, and see, it's already seen on these 3 squares. Those are much stretchier than the rest of the fabric. See, it goes like this way a lot, and these guys are pretty much okay. So I would like to stop every now and then and just check. What I have here is, let's see, how many rows do I have and how many mesh parts do I have, how many squares do I have. So let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 squares in my case equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 rows. So 10 squares, 14 rows in my case. If you go double crochet chain 1 and then double crochet chain 1, so if you have smaller squares, of course the amount of rows will be smaller, but in this case it goes like this: 13 or 14 rows per 10 squares. Well, honestly, I don't know how to explain it other than stop and try and take a step back and check the tension. See, here they both are pretty much equally stretchy, and this is our goal, is to make the mesh part, the mesh fabric, as stretchy as the main part fabric. That's it. So go ahead, stop and check. Now, with my camera off, I will be working until here, and I will explain how to make those triangles at the end of the row. Okay, I have 25 squares. In your case, the amount of squares will be different. And just a reminder, this marker means that this is where the armhole line should start. This is the highest part of the armhole line. Okay, and in order to make this armhole line very smooth and nice, just like this, we're gonna create this triangle which smoothes the process. Okay, so in order to do that, it's the same scheme as the reduction, the decrease, but in this case it can be a little bit different. So my idea here is to create a triangle. I'm gonna undo a little bit the last part. I have those 2 stitches on my crochet hook, and now yarn over 1, yarn over 2, and I go into the place where my stitch marker is, right here. Pull the yarn out, and then I go 1, 2, and 3, and this triangle is done. What else can we do here? We can make an extended double crochet instead of a treble crochet, well, or a treble crochet, just like I did here. It doesn't really matter. The idea is to create this line. This basically it's a reduction, it's a decrease. Now I'm going to turn my work and make another reduction, and you remember that this part is the top of the triangle, and I'm gonna make 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches that kind of grow from the top of your triangle, and then yarn over, and I'm not going into here, I'm going into the next stitch, and it's just a regular double crochet stitch. And then you continue with your double crochet stitches. I mean chain 2, obviously chain 2, and a double crochet. So you have 2 decreases here, triangle here, triangle here. The rest are rectangulars. Now let's see at my other part what is going on. I had a triangle here, a triangle here. This is the triangle at the end of the row with the treble crochet, and then I turned my work, okay, and made this triangle with 1, 2, 3, 4 chains, and then I went all the way down and then went back, and this was the 3rd triangle at the end of the row. And then I turned my work and made 1, 2, 3, 4 chains, which gave me this triangle. So basically I just repeated what I just showed you. 1 triangle at the end of the row, and then another triangle at the beginning of the row, because this was the end and it instantly becomes the beginning of the row. And that's it. So I'm going to repeat this reduction just one more time. You might not want to repeat this reduction. If you have a smaller size and if you have a bigger yarn, if you don't want extra fabric here, you just don't do it. In my case, I wanted to compensate those 3 centimeters that I kind of cut off from my t-shirt to make this panel. But if you don't want to, you can stop right here. Just finish this row and you are done. But if you still need some more rows, then go ahead, go until here, chain 3, chain 2, turn, go until here, and build this triangle above this square. So just in case, I'm gonna show you that one more time, and if you're clear with that, you just can skip that part. So I will finish this row, make a turn, work until here, and I will see you guys right here. Welcome back. What do we have here? Triangle, squares, squares, triangle, and now I have this square before the triangle, and now I'm gonna build a triangle above that square. So I'm gonna undo the last stitch, yarn over 2, and go into the top of the triangle of the previous row. And now 1, oops, oh my god, that was the stitch. Let's do it again. So I undid this stitch, yarn over 2, and then go into the top part of the triangle, pull the yarn through, and go 1, 2, and all 3 stitches together. So I have this third triangle built above the last square before the triangle of the previous row. Now turn my work, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, because we need a bigger side of the triangle, yarn over and go into the upper left point of the square. It was the square, it's the top left point of the square, and I built a triangle here, and that's it. So I'm gonna chain 2 here and make another square, chain 2, another square, and so on and so on. And now if we take a look at the mesh panel on the other side, which is already done, so I had 1, 2, 3, 4 rows with those triangles, and then 2 rows with just squares. These are just squares. So I had this decrease here, and now 2 more rows without any decreases. I will be working until the end of this row, then I will turn and I will see you guys right here, just to remind you kind of how to make a square above a square. Okay, so I will see you right here. Okay, I have this last square before the triangle. Triangle is right here, and I'm not gonna reduce anything, and I just chained 2 here. Okay, and a double crochet. So this row ends with a square, and now the last row, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, turn, begins with a square, and that's it. And this is how our beautiful line is formed here. 1, 2, 3, 4 reductions, and 2 rows without any reductions, and just finish this row with just mesh squares. That's it. And then what you're gonna do next, you're gonna take the back part and do a little bit of math. Count these rows, mark these rows, and just repeat what you did here at the front part, and that's it. And then I will be back to show you how I fixed both sides together. See, I used the regular yarn, but you can use your sequins yarn, and if you know how to do it, just ignore it and go to the next video. Before you move on, you have to count these squares and make sure that this amount of squares and this amount of squares are the same. And what we need to do is just fix two parts together. Until when do we go? Until the point where we started our decreases, so that this is what the armhole looks like. So the stitch can be any, basically, and you can use some maybe extra materials like sequins or something, but make sure that sequins go on the right side, not on the inside. So what I do is I grab the right side of the left stitch and the left side of the right stitch and just fix these guys together. Right side of the left stitch is right here and the left side of the right stitch is right here, and it's just a half crochet stitch. Now as you go, you have to stop every now and then and make sure that the tension is okay and that the squares on the left kind of align to the squares on the right. So just stop, make sure the stretch is okay, that is not too tight, because if it is, then your half crochet stitches should be less tight. Just go ahead and check and then continue going the same way as you went. Okay. Welcome back. So this was the last square and this is where the triangles start, and that's it. We fixed the sides. Now what I would do, I would not cut the yarn, I would just pull the ball of yarn through and fix this stitch, because we're going to be working on the armhole. Now, what about the armhole treatment? I'm gonna keep it very simple. So I'm gonna use single crochet stitches. And see, I didn't cut my yarn, or you can cut your yarn, it doesn't matter, and use some other yarn for the treatment. It doesn't really matter. So the idea here is to go maybe 4 or 5 rows of single crochet stitches, just to make it more nice, just to make the edge more beautiful. So I'm gonna just go around those stitches again using my common sense. How tight should it be, how stretchy it should be, and after each row I just go to the mirror and try the shirt on and see and make sure that I didn't make too many stitches, or the stitches are not too tight. It's just checking, because see, this is 1 5 millimeter crochet hook. If you count the stitches, it's gonna be crazy. So I'm not counting those little stitches. I just go as I go, taking a step back and making sure that I did everything right. And after one row I try everything on and see if I like it. If not, I would just frog it and maybe use some different materials. You can also use sequin thread, and well, just be creative and make sure that the treatment looks good. Not too tight, not too stretchy, just, the common sense.